Here we go. All right, welcome everyone. This is meeting number 1 on Monday, January 24th, 2022. I am Councillor William Riley. I'm the chair of this meeting. We're gonna make sure I have stuff in the right order here. All right, where is it? Okay. So due to the efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 and to protect all individuals, the council chambers will not be open to the public to attend a standing committee or council meeting until further notice. The public may submit comments for matters that are on the agenda to jdyson@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 on the day of the meeting. Comments submitted will be considered as public information and will be read into the public record. This meeting will be live streamed and recorded and available on the township website as well as the township YouTube channel. So I'm going to move forward to the land acknowledgement statement that the township of West Lincoln, being a part of Niagara region, is situated on the treaty land. This land is steeped in rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wendourong, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations. You got Métis and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as part of the Niagara municipality, the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. So moving to disclosure of pecuniary interest and or conflict of interest. So any members of the committee have any pecuniary interest or conflict of interest? Not seeing or hearing any. I have change in order of items on the agenda. Are there any changes we'd like to make to tonight's agenda? I'm not seeing any. So then we have appointments. So tonight we do have one appointment, and it's under item P0122, Janet Joyner, Director, Niagara North Standard Condominium Corporation, number 209. Also, and so it's under NNSC 209, Board Comments, Public Notice of Sale on Municipal Property. And there is a recommendation that the correspondence received from Janet Joyner, Director of the Niagara North Standard Condominium Corporation, 209, dated January 14th, 2022, be received. And at this point, Janet, I will give the floor to you to have a chance to speak to your appointment here. So you just have to unmute yourself, Janet, and you'll be good to go. So we'll just give Janet a second there. There we go.
How about that? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you doing?
Okay, fine, thank you. Okay, so good evening, Chairman Riley and members of the Planning, Building and Environmental Committee. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight regarding a bylaw to allow the sale of the surplus land in downtown Smithville, which lies between McMurtry Lane and Dove Lane. If you don't already know me, my name is Janet Joyner, and I'm here to represent the Niagara North Standard Condominium Corporation number 209, which is located in Wesley Gardens. There are 3 separate boards of directors within Wesley Gardens for the 3 different numbered corporations. All of them are managed by Chabris Properties Limited, which is a management company in St. Catharines. I am a second-term director on the board of the Condominium Corporation, and my husband and I bought our unit on Jenny Crescent in August of 2016. Both of us were born in Smithville and retired in 2010 after running our family-owned hardware store on Griffin Street for over 23 years. We built a 4-plex on McMurtry Lane in 1999 at the rear of the Griffin Street property, which had been in my family since the 1920s. I tell you all this because I'm not what you would call a newbie to the village of Smithville and or to the township of West Lincoln. In the past, I was a member of the Township of West Lincoln Committee of Adjustment, and I have the confidence to speak here tonight to this committee as a director of my condominium corporation, which represents 40 unit owners. McMurtry Lane is a road off of Griffin Street, owned by the municipality, but it wasn't always that way. And I've been around long enough to remember when it was just a tree-lined dirt lane, a right-of-way to farmland. And that farmland is the surplus land that's subject to the bylaw tonight. And part of that farmland is where Wesley Gardens has been built. McMurtry Lane and this surplus land were both acquired by the municipality in a deal with the developer of Wesley Gardens. Dove Lane is a road which leads off of Smith's Cove from Griffin Street. And I remember when it was never even there, before the cooperative housing was built. I saw the Catholic School Board acquire the land from the developer of Wesley Gardens for the old St. Martin's Catholic School. I have also been around long enough to see the houses that were built on Margaret Street, Edward Court, and Leslie Court, which are off of Wade Road. And I tell you all this because with growth and development, nothing looks as it did when I was a child. And today, some things are not always as they appear. I am here to enlighten you to the fact that Dove Lane is not a municipal-owned street. It is not maintained by the municipality. It would appear to anyone who drives into the Wesley Gardens complex that Dove Lane is a paved road that is probably being maintained by the municipality, but in fact it is not. Dove Lane is adjacent to the surplus land subject of the bylaw tonight. The grass boulevard, the sidewalk, and the road surface is owned by the condominium corporation, and it is maintained by the corporation. There's no doubt that this surplus land is very valuable and open space in downtown Smithville. But remember, any development on this property will have access for the construction vehicles and traffic to enter it on McMurtry Lane off of Griffin Street. The house and the garage at the corner of Smith's Cove and Griffin Street was demolished this last couple weeks. The new commercial building, which is going to be built on that property, is going to create more congestion at the intersection of Smith's Cove and Griffin Street. So remember, construction vehicles and traffic to develop the surplus lands cannot use the privately owned Dove Lane, which is accessed from Smith's Cove off of Griffin Street, just north of the 20 Mile Creek Bridge. The directors of Niagara North Standard Condominium Corporation number 209 are not opposed to the bylaw that will allow the sale of the surplus property. Our concern is if the future owners in the process to develop these lands are led to believe and then have any intention that they could gain access or egress from that land onto our road. The signage entering Wesley Gardens shows that it is indeed private property. Dove Lane leads to Jenny Crescent, Riverside Circle, and Garden Drive, all roads that are private and will be impacted if traffic is allowed from the surplus land and from the development of the old Catholic school property. And when these roads break down and are in need of repair and or replacement, it will be at our expense, not the Township of West Lincoln. On behalf of the unit owners, and as a director of our condominium corporation, I request that the Planning Department of West Lincoln ensure that there will not be an entrance to or an exit from the surplus land subject tonight onto Dove Lane. And in conclusion, I would like to request that the Planning Department send any notices of applications for zoning changes to the 3 condominium boards of Wesley Gardens, and that we also be notified of any site plan agreements with reference to these properties that I have discussed tonight, which are adjacent to the Wesley Gardens properties. I would also like you to provide the same notices to each of the unit owners of Wesley Gardens, the 3 condominium corporations. The notices to Niagara North Standard Condominium Corporation number 209 can be sent to my attention, Janet Joyner at 7 Jenny Crescent, Smithville, Ontario. I thank you again for the opportunity to speak with all of you tonight. And tomorrow I will deliver a copy of this presentation to Ms. Skime, the clerk of the township, by delivering it to her office. Again, thank you.
Thank you. And so I'll just go to our director real quickly here, our director, Brian Treble. I just wanted to make note that you've part of this meeting, you've heard those notes. Do you have anything further you'd like to add to this at this time, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I just want to let Janet know that I appreciate her comments. They were very clear and very well presented. In my mind, I don't believe staff have any authority to grant access to Dove Lane. I think the only person or the only organization that has that authority would be, in fact, the Condo Corp themselves. So in my mind, I think what will probably happen, should we get there at some point, and it's certainly not around the corner, but if we get to the point of a site plan application at some point, I'll reach out to Janet and provide her an opportunity for her and board members to take a review of that site plan. But at this point in time, it would be my opinion that we have no authority to grant access to Dove Lane. The only ones that have that authority are the condo.
Excellent. Thank you. Did you hear that, Janet?
Yes, I did. And I appreciate, through you, Councillor Riley, to Mr. Treble, that we fully understand it. My intention tonight is just to make everyone aware of that fact, that Dove Lane is in fact privately owned, and the access should not be, what would I say, assumed without, a lot of conversation. And am I, through you to Mr. Riley, I would believe that as adjacent property owners, the unit owners and the board have a right to ask for notices. In the past, those notices may have gone to Chabris if there was anything to do with anybody in that proximity to us. And I think they just get lost in the shuffle.
Okay. That is, sorry, go ahead, Mr. Director.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of thoughts in response to what Ms. Joyner just said there. It will depend on the type of planning application that we end up receiving in terms of what the notice requirements are. I make a commitment to providing notice to Janet because she has spoken tonight, but if it's only a site plan, for example, there are no requirements to provide notice to the neighbors. Notice to neighbors apply to minor variances and consents and rezonings, but not under the site plan rules. That's number one. Number two, condo corps are tough units to provide notice to. There's sort of two different layers of ownership, if I can call it that we have access to. And we always find it very difficult to be providing notice in condos. The taxation records are a little bit tricky, and there have been past histories of not getting the proper notices to the proper people. Ms. Joyner is right again. We'll do our best, but it depends on the records available to us and impact. So.
Thank you again. Okay. And Mr. Riley, to Brian, if we can be of any benefit to that, so as a result, the notices could certainly go to the board and to myself, and we could forward you information on names and addresses of each and every unit owner. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I think for now we'll have you, we'll have staff reach out to you should something come up, and you guys can figure out the best way to deal with that then, considering whatever rules are in place or required. So thank you again for your presentation. That's all we have for the presentation. So I do have a recommendation that the correspondence received from Janet Joyner, Director of the Niagara North Standard Condominium Corporation, number 209, dated January 14th, 2022, be received. If I can get a mover for that. I got Councillor Yonker and then Councillor Rayner, the seconder. At this point, any questions or comments? Okay, not seeing or hearing any. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of receiving this for information? Okay, that carries. And that's our only appointment there. So Janet, you're welcome to stay for the meeting. That's the end of that portion there. And I'm going to move on to request to address items on the agenda. I'm going to go to the, I guess, IT or Kevin there just to see who we have in the gallery, if there's any members that would like to speak to this, and then I could read the statement here.
Yes, there are two. There's Peter Forsberg and John Whitlaw.
Okay. And so John or Peter, do either of you wish to address any items on the agenda? Not seeing or hearing anything. Okay, so we'll move forward. And
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I believe that Jared, in fact, I think I see a message now. Jared Marcus, yes. I believe, wants to speak.
Okay, I didn't see him in the gallery there, so that's why.
No, he's in with panelists.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, Jared, I'll give you a chance to speak here. So just give me 1 second here to go back. So I just got to do my thing. So under section 10, 13, 5, and 6, general rules, 1 hour in total shall be allocated for this section of the agenda, and each individual person shall only be provided with 5 minutes to address their issue. Some exceptions may apply. A response may not be provided, and the matter may be referred to staff. A person who wishes to discuss a planning application or matter that can be appealed will be permitted to speak for 10 minutes. At this point, I'll ask Jared we recognize who Jared is, but for the record, Jared, I'll have you state your name, your address, and then you can go forward with your question.
Thank you, Chair Riley. My name is Jared Marcus. I'm here from IBI Group. Address is 360 James Street in Hamilton. I'd like to take just a quick minute to address a item on your consent agenda. It's PD 14-2022. And that's respecting Silverdale Sports Center. I know there's an information report from planning staff tonight, just giving a brief update on that application. I'd just like to note that the information report from planning staff seems to be the impetus that's lit a fire under our consulting team. So I'm happy to say that we do have the final information that we needed to submit to planning staff to get that application moving. I know it's been a long time coming, preceding my involvement in the file, and we're hopeful, based on meetings we had with the NPCA and region this past summer, that this final report will address the last remaining items, and staff will be able to bring a positive recommendation forward, whether that's the next meeting in February or following that. So we just wanted to give you a brief update to the information update.
Excellent. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate that. And I'll go back to the gallery one more time in case we have anybody else. Not seeing any, so we'll move forward. I'm going to go to consent items. All items listed below are considered to be routine and non-controversial and can be approved by one resolution. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member requests it, in which case the item will be removed from consent resolution and considered immediately following the adoption of the remaining consent agenda items. And the recommendation that the Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting hereby approve the following consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5B, and are hereby received for information. And item 6 is hereby received, and that the recommendations contained therein adopted with the following exceptions, and there's currently none. So I'm going to see, so I have Councillor Ganand and Councillor Braderick. So that'll be my mover and seconder, and then I'll go to Councillor Ganand first. I think you had was it that you wanted to remove something?
I did. I'd like to pull number 3 and number 4, please.
Okay, 3 and 4 are removed. Councillor Braderick, were you just seconding, or were you moving it, or were you hoping to pull one as well?
I was hoping to pull number 3.
Okay, perfect. So 3 and 4 are removed. And then at this point, I'm using Councillor Ganand and Councillor Braderick as the mover and seconder for 1, 2, and 5 and 6. So at this point, if there's any, I guess there's no discussion, so I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Not hearing or seeing any, so that carries. So we go to item 3, and that item is the information report PDO 9/2022 update snow event weather advisory focused winter parking enforcement to assist with the township snow removal. And I'll give, I guess I need a mover and seconder to talk about this, right? Madam Chair, or sorry, Deputy Clerk there?
Yes, Mr. Chair, you're correct.
Okay, so I have Mayor Billsman's hand up, and I also have Councillor Ganand. So we can actually pick which one you want, which order, and Councillor Ganand, you can speak to this.
Okay, thank you. So we will look at number 3, which is the snow removal report. I was just worried that if this report just went through consent, that we would not get further information to the public, as was the intent, I think, of the report, with the clarification on the term snow event and so on. So I would like to ask our director if he would please just clarify this verbally so that any public who happen to be listening in tonight, or any members of the public who happen to watch it on video later at a later date, sort of hear for themselves that we've had a little bit of clarification. The fact that we had another snow event today certainly lent more credence to this. So, Mr. Director, if you would please, through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you for the question. Through you, Mr. Chair. The report's been written to provide a little bit of clarity, as has been identified. And as I'm sure most of the committee members are aware, prior to Christmas, it seemed to be a very hot topic, the issue of parking enforcement. And there are two parts to the enforcement issue that has sort of arisen over the last month and a bit. And I think it's important that we sort of make the distinction. The first is, what is a snow event? And it's effectively an event such as today, where the weather forecasters are providing notice of a snowfall, and it is going to trigger the need for our plows and sanders to be out on the streets. So in that type of an event, we have got into a habit, and we weren't very good at the start, but I think we're getting much better at it, of posting notice and tweeting out notice to the public of the advisory that is forthcoming or present, and asking them to cooperate so that the streets are clear and our enforcement people are able, our plow operators are able to work, and the enforcement people are there to assist. The other piece, and the piece that has generated the most controversy, is people who seem to, and forgive me, I'm going to be blunt here, but people that seem to have an entitlement opinion with respect to on-street parking. There's a very strong attitude that the only time they are not allowed to park on the street is in the event that it's between 2 and 6 a.m. as per historical enforcement approaches that we've taken in this town. But the Highway Traffic Act and our own parking bylaw from 1989 both include provisions that say impeding the ability of a plow or sander to operate and clean the roads and maintain the roads is an infraction of both our act and the Provincial Highway Traffic Act. So in those cases, if you're impeding the ability of the plow to get down the street, that's actually a larger fine, and it's a $75 fine. And we have only, as a bylaw enforcement staff, implemented that in the event we get phone calls from Public Works. And I'm sorry to say that as of today, we have now had 4 separate occasions where Public Works has had to call bylaw staff. It happened again today. They need bylaw staff to go out and assist with the clearing of the streets of the cars. Sadly, again, it's the same streets all the time. There are repeat offenders, and I suspect on those streets, probably many of the cars are repeat cars that are being in offense as well. So there is still some work to do to get the message out. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak to this tonight. In the event that they are impeding the ability of a plow operator, that affects our liability. If the plow has to back up on the street because it can't get through between vehicles, that is a health and safety matter for not only the operators, but the public as well. So there's a number of different reasons why, we have been fairly aggressive in assisting Public Works when they need and ask for assistance. And as bylaw, I think we have that obligation to protect the township and ensure that our insurance policy is properly defended as well. So, Mr. Chair, I'll stop it there. That might have generated more questions, but I'm happy to respond to anything further.
Thank you, Director. I'll go back to Councillor Ganan to see if she had a follow-up.
No, I don't. Thank you. I just felt that it needed to be verbalized so that it didn't get lost in the shuffle. It's an important message. Thank you, Mr. Director.
Okay. No, thank you, and I appreciate the you pulling that to speak to that. I'll go to Mayor Billsma. He had his hand up.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Chair, and I don't want to make staff the bad guys in this by doing the heavy lifting with respect to our communications to our community. This is practical, common sense. You know, when we have a snow event, it is just the polite thing to do to get your vehicles off the street so that our employees can navigate the street safely and making it safe for everyone. The few individuals who feel obliged to keep their cars out during a snow event are just, you know, creating all kinds of havoc and unsafe conditions and making their fellow neighbors frustrated because the plows can't do their job well efficiently. You know, the people are waiting at the one end for the road to be plowed, and the plows have to go at quarter speed. So this is just practical common sense. When we're having a snowstorm or a snow event, let's use the correct terminology. The polite thing to do is just get your stuff out of the way, whatever it may be, until the event is over and the road is clear, and then you can go back to the usual. I know for a fact, and I want to commend the operators and the event that happened last week for doing such a fine job. On Thursday night, I had an opportunity to touch base with the mayors and regional councillors from the other municipalities. And some of them took 2-3 days. And their number one complaint was cars on the street, prohibiting the operators from cleaning the side streets. So, you know, I know we do better, and it would be great if everybody got on board. But this is a very serious problem, and I hope we can address it. And so, rather than have staff, you know, be the bad guys in this, I think as counselors we have to, you know, do that proper messaging also to those people in our community that call us and they're frustrated and stuff like that. But we have to defend our staff's ability to clean the road. So I just wanted to get that as well on the record, that council, at least as far as I'm concerned, and at this point I'm kind of speaking for myself, but council is behind staff's ability to clear the roads of vehicles so that the operators can do their work. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other members of committee wish to speak to this? Not seeing any. I'll just make one quick comment there. Yeah, I guess, you know, from some of the feedback I heard from the community, I think a lot of the concern was understanding when the 24 hours started. Was it from the minute that the notice was given, whether it had to come from the township, whether it had to come from the weather network, who was the actual source that initiated? Because, you know, biggest concern I heard over the holidays was, how do I know when I'm supposed to have family over? Which family members do I get to pick over? Because a lot of the parking areas, or a lot of the residents have areas that only permit like 1 or 2 vehicles at most. And so I think that really added to some of the frustration that we felt. But certainly, you know, the whole goal of staff is to ensure that, you know, these roads are safely and efficiently cleared, and that we're not creating more problems with it. But again, I appreciate hearing that, you know, we're utilizing social media to help kind of notify the public of when to expect this, because I think a lot of people felt blindsided by it. And, you know, and I think we can all relate to that and understand that. And it's, you know, just part of the process. It's been a long time since we've had a storm like that, and we've had quite a few mild winters, so it's just kind of everyone getting back into the groove of things. So anyways, I appreciate that. At this point, I don't see or hear anybody else, so I'll call the question to support item number 3. Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Mayor. Oh, okay, all those in favor? Yeah, carries. And I'm a little rusty since the first one back, so apologies. All right, so we're going to move to item number 4, which is information report PD 13-2022, development, redevelopment in Smithville. Councilor Ganana pulled it, so she'll be the mover. Can I get a seconder? I got Councilor Braderick and Councilor Ganana. The floor is yours.
So thank you. I actually pulled this just to thank staff for this report. There is so much going on right now in town, and people are asking questions all the time about what's going here and what's there and what's happening in one place or another. And I just find that if we don't know, it looks like we're hiding something. And we know that there are oftentimes things that do not have to come to council first. There are parts of the activities that are going on. But I think just the fact that we have an awareness of all these things now makes us in a better position to explain that that's that's part of the process as to why we don't know about a particular thing or what exactly is going in the spot that somebody has identified as having some work being done. And so I just think this was a really good overall report to just bring us all up to speed on the many things that are about to happen in the next several months in West Lincoln, and in particular in downtown Smithville area. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the committee? Oh, go ahead, Mr. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not to belabor anything, but just wanting to point out that, of course, planning applications are in various stages, and that clearly has an impact over how much information has been shared with committee. Something like the feed mill, which is a big site and is going to have a big visual impact. Planning applications haven't even made it to the table yet. We're just dealing with a demolition permit that, of course, is issued by the building department in accordance with the building bylaw and doesn't require any sort of input or consultation. There will be planning input and consultation at some point, but when that will be, I don't know. And something like the Masonic Hall is simply a site plan amendment. So you might get a quick report come flying by you at some point that says that we need authority to enter a site plan for a redevelopment opportunity on the Masonic Hall property, but you're not going to get into a lot of detail around various, setbacks and deficiencies and stuff like that necessarily. So the level of discussion isn't always the same, and hence why it was beneficial even for staff to sort of get our head around what all was going on out there. It took a couple of iterations to make it happen. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's the biggest thing the community feels is the uncertainty of what's happening. As Councillor Ganan highlighted, it almost becomes like the boogeyman in the closet. Oh no, something's happening, and what's happening? They're not telling me, and they're hiding it from us. And speculation kind of outgrows the realities of the situation. I have a question to our CAO, and I don't know if this is at all appropriate to ask him. By that I mean if it's something we should consider. But is it possible to have something like this on our website with, I don't know, under a link of like what's happening in West Lincoln? I just feel like if there's a way to be able to steer people to this, like obviously this is always changing, and I don't know if that becomes too laborsome. But I feel like information like this definitely would help prevent a lot of the misinformation and speculation that happens. And so again, I don't really know what the how much work that would actually create. Sometimes I think things are simpler than they actually are. So I just thought I would ask you, is that something we can consider, or is it something, that's probably more work than I realize?
Well, I think to you, Chair, that it's a good question. And this is actually what spurred this report and because we, even the director and I noted to each other that going downtown, things are looking a little bit different. And if we, if we're sort of awakened by it, then it'd be something that certainly the public might be interested in. So then we started thinking about what other communities do about that in terms of communication, and we didn't really get very far with that. But the staff report is certainly a good start. And then actually somebody called the township office today asking what was happening, and we were going to be able to refer them directly to that report. But it's not really easy just to get into navigate an agenda and find a report. So if you give us some time to try to think about it. Sure. But yeah, that was it was our intention to try to get this out and to be a bit more transparent about the process. Yeah, that was obviously all the time you need like that. I think that would just be an excellent service for the community to have, to be able to go and check if they're curious, and if something's not on there, they know maybe something's coming. As our director mentioned, one project's in a demolition stage, and who knows, maybe they take 10 years before they put something on the property, at which point they don't need to put a planning proposal through or anything like that. But I think in the meantime, if we're able to find a way to do that, I think it'd just be easier and probably save a lot of headaches. But I do appreciate that. Any other members of committee have any questions? Not seeing here any. I have mover Councillor Ganan, my seconder is Councillor Braderick. So all those in favor of number 4, and that carries. All right, let me bring my agenda back up. So that concludes consent agenda items. So we're going to move to communications. Under PO3 2022, Tom Allwood, Chair, Multi-Municipal Wind Turbine Working Group,
wind turbine failures, and its recommendation that the correspondence received from Tom Allwood, chair of the Municipal Wind Turbine Working Group, dated December 14, 2021, be received for information. If I can get a mover for that one. I got Councillor Gannan and Councillor Bradrick. Any questions or comments? Councillor Councillor Yonker.
Yeah, I guess through you, Mr. Chair, to our planner. In this report, there is a report of 10 failures that have happened over the last, I'm just scrolling down to it again, on page, I should have kept it open, on page 10 of the report. And just wondering, is there, I wasn't in council when our 70 some were approved or whatever we have here, but is there inspections done, and is there something that we need to do to make to keep an eye on things? But I imagine things are being inspected, but I just like a little bit of a update if you are able.
So I guess the Mr. Director, I guess he's looking about whether or not our authority and jurisdiction meets with how it's being overseen.
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the examples that they provided of turbine failure and that they're across the entire province, and some I happen to be familiar with just because of my back home connection, but and I know, for example, in the Huron County example, which there's a couple of them in the list that are failures in Huron County, those turbine sites, or some of those turbine sites, actually predate the Green Energy Act and were granted through local approval. In those cases, I would suspect it would be whatever rules the local municipalities put in place that would have an opportunity to regulate the reporting mechanisms and the follow-up monitoring requirements and the whole bit. In the case of the developments that are in West Lincoln, they were approved by the province under the Green Energy Act, and we were only a commenting agency in the same fashion as the general public, where our comments carried no more weight than you or my comments would have as individuals in that whole process. So in my mind, I don't think we have any authority to ask for monitoring or reporting mechanisms, but it is my understanding that the province is supposed to be receiving reports annually to do with a number of different sort of integrity, if I can call it that, type issues with the wind turbines, noise monitoring, and a number of different things. But the township doesn't receive any notice or confirmation as to whether the reports are done and whether they're in compliance or not. So I struggle to know what we can do. I was reading over some of this stuff, and I struggle to know what we as a township can do retroactively on some of these approvals. Now that they've given authority to us going forward, we could certainly regulate and require monitoring and reporting mechanisms going forward on new applications. But for the existing ones in West Lincoln, it's the province's domain as far as I know.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, good. I appreciate that. And that's kind of what I was wondering. Do we even have that ability to ask for that? So I appreciate the answer there. And yeah, I'm sure this working group will continue to monitor these issues, and I'll try to be at these meetings as well. So it's just good that there is a group that's keeping an eye on this. So good.
Now, actually, Councillor Yonker, because I know you're part of that group, do you know approximately how many wind turbines we have in Ontario alone? Have they disclosed that?
Oh, yeah. Off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but yeah, there's a lot, and it's only going to go up, right? So it's good, and I think we can say that I think this working group helped move it so that it's back into the municipalities' control a little bit better than it has in the past. So I think we do need to acknowledge that this group does benefit people, and that we continue to attend these meetings and to support it. So
yeah, but the reason I asked, I'm just trying to get a ballpark idea. Like, are we talking about thousands, tens of thousands? Because if I look at this chart here they've given, they given 10, maybe there's a few more since we've received this report, and they seem to be averaging around 7 years to 15 years seems to be the life expectancy on some of these. So I'm hoping the province at the very least is doing their due diligence and regulating how often these blades. It seems to be a blade failure seems to be the most common concern out of the, I'm guessing it looks like here, out of 7 of the 10. And again, most of these seem to be 7 years, 6.9 years, 6 years, 7 years, 15.4 years. So
yeah. And can I just make one more comment to
go ahead, sir.
Yeah, basically that is one of the frustrations that this this group has, is trying to get answers, right, is very tough. And even on the noise measurements and doing the tests that they do, it so much of it seems kind of vague, and that's where this group is still working hard at getting, the Minister of the Environment and a few other ministers more involved in what's going on. And that is one of the big concerns, is like, there does not seem to be, it's hard to get good and solid answers from any minister on these issues. And that's what we keep struggling with, right? We've tried to get meetings with the minister, and I can't remember off the top of my head the Minister of Environment or the Minister of Municipalities, and it's been hard. And that's the frustrating part, that with this whole wind turbine industry, they seem to almost have a little bit of a cloud in keeping things close to, like, almost secret, if I'm just going to say it bluntly. And that's been frustrating, and not just for the municipalities, but also for residents that have concern. I know myself, when a few meetings ago that I attended, it might have been a year ago, I did say, yeah, we as municipality don't hear too many complaints from our wind turbines, but I don't, but I know at other ones there's more complaints coming with noise and effects and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's been tough getting answers, that's for sure.
Thank you. Any other members of the committee have any other questions or comments? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Rayner.
Thank you. I believe Councillor Yonker mentioned 70-something he thought was in West Lincoln. Through to the director, I don't know, I recall the number of 44.
Yeah, that's the number I recall too.
Is that number correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe it's 44 for the Niagara Region Wind Corp, and 5 out in Ward 1 for what's their name? It's connected to Rankin. I can't think of the name of it, but
they're way down in the Westbrook end.
Yeah, there's 44 and 5, I believe.
Yeah, they were the initial ones that started, and then the 44 came afterwards.
Yes.
I think the proposal originally, was it not like 70 or 72 or something in that range?
I think it is 70-something, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, but it's scattered across
77. There's 18 in
Haldeman and
Wayne and Haldeman. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm getting the totals mixed up, which ones we have to be concerned about. But so thanks.
No, understood. All right, Councillor Rayner, was there any other follow-up to that? You good?
No, thanks.
Okay. So that being the case, I'm going to call the question. So all those in favor of receiving this for information? And opposed? All right, that carries. And we're going to move forward to staff reports. So item PO 422, Director of Planning and Building Brian Treble, technical report PDO 6 2022, street naming for St. Catherine Street, Regional Road 20, Smithville. And the recommendation is that report PDO 6 2022 regarding a technical report, street naming for St. Catherine Street, Regional Road 20, Smithville, dated January 24th, 2022 be received, and that a recommendation report be presented at a future Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting with the preferred road name, and then such report be ratified by council provided for the region of Niagara as per direction from regional staff. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder. Like Mayor Billisma, and I have Councillor Trombetta. Any questions? Not seeing or hearing any, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And opposed? All right, that carries. We're going to move to item PO 522, Planner 2, Madison Etzel, and Director of Planning and Building, Brian Treble, and his recommendation report, PD 01 2022, zoning bylaw amendment, Paul and Lorraine Cronkright, 2458 Smithville Road, and that report PDO 1/2022 regarding zoning bylaw amendment, Paul and Lorraine Crockright, 2458 Smithville Road, file number 1601-015-21, dated January 24th, 2022 be received, and that section 3417 of the Planning Act be applied, and that no further meeting is required, and that an application for a zoning bylaw amendment 1601-015-21 submitted by Paul and Lorraine Cronkright and a corresponding bylaw be approved and passed, and finally that staff be authorized to circulate the notice of decision for the zoning bylaw amendment with the corresponding 20-day appeal period. So I'm going to need a mover for that in a second. So I got Councillor Yonker and Councillor Ganan. Any questions or comments? Not seeing or hearing any. I call the question. All those in favor? Okay, that carries. So now we have item PO 622, Bylaw Enforcement Officer Tiana Dominic and Director of Planning and Building Brian Treble. Recommendation report PD 11/2022, new AMPS hearing officer contract with the town of Pelham and other local municipalities to replace an existing agreement with the city of Thorold. And the recommendation is that PD 11/2022 regarding recommendation report, new AMPS hearing officer contract with the town of Pelham and other local municipalities, and to replace existing agreement with the city of Thorold dated January 24th, 2022 be received. And that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign and the authorizing bylaw to enter into an agreement for a new administrative monetary penalty cost share agreement with the town of Pelham and all participating municipalities for the provision of a hearing officer for a 3-year term as a mechanism to consider parking tickets that are challenged in accordance with the AMPS program, and that the existing AMPS hearing officer agreement with the city of Thorold as authorized by bylaw 2020-113B and is hereby canceled. So I'm going to get a mover for that. Mayor Billsma, Councillor Braderick. Any questions or comments? Not seeing or hearing any, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? All right, that carries. I'm going to move forward to item PO 722, the recommendation report PDO 7/2022, extension of patio policy for licensed premises until January 1st, 2023. And the recommendation is that report PDO 7/2022 regarding recommendation report extension of patio policy for licensed premises until January 1st, 2023, dated January 24th, 2022 be received, and that the Council of the Township of West Lincoln hereby approves a blanket resolution of support and respect to the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario Regulation 719 as consolidated on November 8th, 2021 of the Liquor License Act for such licensed establishments to open and operate patios temporarily, including by the glass, in quotations, and includes extending patios for the duration of 2022. And that the attached bylaw be passed to implement a temporary zoning exception for outdoor patios when approved by the CBO and fire chief for the 2022 patio season. And finally, that the temporary use bylaw expire on January 1st, 2023. So if I can get a mover for that. I got Councillor Yonker and Councillor Ganan. Any questions or comments? Not seeing or hearing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, that carries. Moving to item PO 8/2022, and the recommendation report is PD 10/2022, proposal to commence street naming consultation process for West Street, Regional Road 20, Smithville. And the recommendation is that report PD 10/2022 regarding recommendation report proposal to commence street naming consultation process for West Street, Regional Road 20, Smithville, dated January 24th, 2022 be received. And that staff be authorized to commence the street naming notification and consulting process as per the Township of West Lincoln street naming policy and also the regional road naming policy. So if I can get a mover and seconder for that. Got Councillor Yonker as the mover, got Councillor Trombetta as the seconder. Any questions or comments? All right, not seeing any, going to call the question. All those in favor? All right, anybody opposed? All right, that carries. Other business. So under PO 9/2022, members of committee, any members of committee have other business? I have Councillor Yonker. And then Mayor Belsma.
Yeah, I'd just like to update the council on the West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce. The Chalmers is busy. We've been very fortunate to have a board there that's been active, and I just want to, on behalf of council, thank the board for what the work they do. and just wanted to, I got a bunch of things to bring forward here, but just thought I'd report to council that our budget has been approved for 2022. And just due to lack of being able to hold events, which are the main means of fundraising for the chamber, there's been a net loss of $5,712, but thankfully the government has it has a I don't know what the program is called again, but I mean the losses have been covered by grants that have been put forward by the provincial government, and so we're thankful for that. The AGM is going to be held February 17th on a Thursday at 5 p.m. It will be a virtual an event, and at that AGM, we are going to be looking for new board members to join. So if you can think of anybody or anyone who's capable and interested in joining that board, I believe the date is February 2nd. They would love to hear from anybody about joining the board. It's a lot of fun. I think we have a great board there. I think Cheryl Ganan can attest to that. And yeah, also the Toonie for Toys raised $5,455.48. On top of that, there was a matching donation, which made it a total of $6,018.18. And I believe that's the best we've done. So when you consider the second year of COVID restrictions and stuff like that, it just goes to show how the community is pulling together to support each other. And also at the meeting there, the board did say thank you to the West Lincoln firefighters for stepping up and collecting money during the parade. I did not write down how much the fire department collected on their own, but it was a good part. And so just wanted to, on behalf of the board and also on behalf of council, thank the volunteer firefighters for being there collecting that night. And I think we just wanted to maybe let council know there's a bit of talk within the board, and I think our CAO is going to probably hear from the board, but as well, they always do that winter market, and I think we've been working on thinking about doing a winter market, and the chamber always hosts a home show, and we're going to maybe reach out to staff and ask about maybe combining those two, but that's just in the thought process right now. So just thought I'd let everybody know that the board's active and doing a good job, and it's been another good year. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Council. Yeah, I hope they can make a winter market work out. I think there was talks about potentially an Easter market, but that's still ways away. So anyways, I'll go to Mayor Bylsma for his comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to make the council and the public aware that today and tomorrow, Roma is in progress. It's the Rural Ontario Municipal Association. And Councillor Ganan, myself, and our CAO have been attending today. We did two delegations, one to the Minister of Transportation, Caroline Mulrooney, with respect to our north-south, continuing to put that front and center so that it stays on the radar of the. I think that we counted it up. I think it's the 7th time that we have reminded the Ministry of Transportation that this road's really important to us, and of course, they're still willing to receive our delegation, and so we do so in conjunction with municipalities of Grimsby and Lincoln as well, and it's important to all three municipalities. So that was the first delegation, and then later on we had a delegation to. It's a very long acronym, but it's Northern Development and Mines, the Ministry of, and there's a couple other words in there as such. But council would be pleased to know that it was, I think, probably one of our best delegations. First time that we've ever delegated to this particular ministry, and it had to do with our Beds of Navigable Waters Act, and that's something that this ministry basically attends to, and it had to do with circumstances that we came across last year. And we had a good delegation where I think we made an impact. Councillor Ganan prized herself very, very well, giving an explanation. So, I think that one we came away feeling like we had accomplished something real low-hanging fruit for the ministry. And so it was kind of a win-win for both our municipality and the ministry in terms of tidying up a reporting structure for that beds of navigable water. So just I wanted to get council up to speed on that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. Thank you. It's great to hear. I know I've been part of about 3 or 4 or 5 of those delegations in the past, and it's great to hear that the momentum is still there. Any other members of the committee have any other comments or questions they want to present this time regarding members of committee motion? Not seeing or hearing any, so we're going to move forward to new business. Any items of new business? Not seeing or hearing any. So we're going to move to confidential matters. Recommendation that the next portion of this meeting be closed to the public to consider the following pursuant to Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001. And the first one is 13.1, read legal solicitor client privilege property sale matter confidential report PD 112-2022 sale of lands in downtown Smithville, township of West Lincoln. And the applicable closed session exemptions are the security of the property of the municipality or local board, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. The next item will be 13.2, and it's a legal solicitor client privilege property matter, confidential information report, PD 08-2022, results of monitoring at John Street property, Casterville. And those applicable closed session exemptions are litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. And then finally, we have 13.3, legal enforcement matter, quarterly bylaw update, and the applicable closed session exemption is litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, the security of the property of the municipality or local board, and advice that is subject to solicitor client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. So I need a mover and seconder. I got Councillor Yonker and Councillor Braderick, and all those in favor and going into close. Perfect. And I'll say that's carried. So we're officially closed at 7:27. For those still in the meeting or still hanging on there, we'll be back shortly. And at this point, we're officially closed and we'll resume at our earliest convenience. All right, welcome back. Here we are. So I'm going to get a mover and seconder to open us up. We got Mayor Bylsma and Councillor Braderick, so that this committee does now resume an open session at the hour of 7:59 p.m. As far as moving forward with the item, under item P1022, Director of Planning and Building Brian Treble, confidential report PD 12 2022 sales of lands in downtown Smithville, Township of West Lincoln, and the recommendation that report 12 2022 regarding the confidential recommendation report sales of lands in downtown Smithville, Township of West Lincoln, dated January 24th, 2022 be received, and that staff be authorized to proceed as directed in closed session. So if I can get a mover and a seconder. I got Councillor Ganan and Mayor Bylsma. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, and that carries. I'll note that Councillor Yonker came back just in time to vote, and Councillor Rayner is having some technical difficulties, so he'll not take part in the remaining part of the meeting here. So moving to item P11, 2022, Bylaw Enforcement Officer Tiana Dominic and Director of Planning and Building Brian Treble, Confidential Information Report PDO 822, Property Matter, Legal Matter Results of Monitoring at John Street Property, Casterville, and the recommendations that report PDO 8 2022 regarding Confidential Information Report, Property Matter, Legal Matter Results of Monitoring of John Street Property, Casterville, dated January 24th, 2022, be received for information purposes. If I can get a mover and seconder for that. Got Councillor Yonker and Councillor Braderick. All those in favor? And that passed. Any opposed? And that passes. And then the last item, there's no recommendation. So at this point, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at the hour of 8 p.m. I got Councillor Yonker waving his hand real quickly. Did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I would just ask, I put my hand up, but I was trying to get your attention to say, can you reread that? Because I missed what that first directive was. Sorry. I think I'm in support of it, but
are you okay? So there was two. The very first one we dealt with was the sale of the lands in downtown Smithville, which you came into. And then after that, we had the one to receive for information, which was the John Street property and the monitoring it. And then the last one didn't require a vote, but that was just the quarterly bylaw update.
Okay, can you just read the first one so that I can say, yes, I do agree. Like you said, I showed up just in time to vote,
okay,
but I didn't hear it, so I want to make sure I voted properly. Is that
fine.
Fair? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
So you want to know what you voted for. That report, PD 12 2022, regarding confidential recommendation report, sale of lands in downtown Smithville, Township of West Lincoln, dated January 24th, 2022, be received, and that staff be authorized to proceed as directed in closed session. So you were voting to support the direction we gave in close.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
No worries. So that being said, we're still during the meeting. It's 8:02 p.m. So if we want to make that little tweak, and otherwise, everyone have a great night. And for those who are watching at home, thank you for waiting.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.